It is the mindness at the Mystery Font 42 in Minneapolis, Minnesota. And I seem to be, let's be honest, I seem to be having a bit of an episode of Mystery Font 42. Open to it. What? This? Oh. That's right. That's what this place is. I am Tim, the host of the Mystery Font. Golly, there's a lot to do. A lot of people are justifiably afraid because some of the worst people in the world have seized power and megaphones and are trying to create a loss of executive function. But it can be all right. It is something we can pilot through. We can read the world around us. We have patternicity, what Dr. Michael Shermer calls patternicity. That is the ability to see in noise, in seeming chaos and static. We can suss out where there is a substrate and build our reality. And that is our empirical scient mind that we are able to leverage to do that. We're detectives. We are the reality distortion. And we are a fielding of our reality distortions, and we are constantly updating and improving our ability to sense what's real. And hopefully, we continue to learn how to perceive and deal with, whether to heal or dispatch, or if necessary, in us to kill the falsehood that is in us. We all carry lies. We can even carry and develop mental cancer. Intolerance is cancer. Ku Klux Klan answer is cancer. And we are tolerant of all except for intolerance. And that makes sense unless there is an addiction to punishment, an addiction to hatred, an addiction to using punishment and hell upon earth as a guard against it being directed at you. There is, however, enough of what we need. There's enough. There's more than enough of the resources that we need. And more than enough of resources that can better suffice than those we have used before. The things that we really want to keep interacting with, we probably can. We probably can save chocolate. But we could lose it entirely. We probably could sustain some practices that are deadly to us if we really wanted to. But wouldn't it be better to wean quickly from the use of fossil fuels, which we know is destroying our habitat, which we don't have to do? The actual physics of our world don't say that someone has to be punished, that someone has to lose. that's just the paradigm we've been living in for thousands of years. But it's not only inefficient and ineffective, it's corrupt, it's false. There is enough. And just because scarcity exists doesn't mean that the weaponized capture pool matrices that we live within are a stable, just reality, as opposed to an extra substrate of capture pools to menace and coerce and stop hitting yourself people as they are being pummeled by the shapes we encode and weave into our society. Of course, right now, MAGA, forces of right-wing Nazi fascism and extremism, such as in MAGA, of course these ridiculous criminal leagues of hatred are scrambling now to try to hold ground, because it's become apparent that there's no ground to stand on there. There's no reason why we have to continue to institute cruelty. There's no reason why we have to continue an addiction to punishment. And the cracks in the facade of any form of necessity of that are so replete that those who cling to the idea that we need to continue to hurt children when they're born, to teach them about the world, that we need to instill punishment, that we need to blame and torture people, or that we will be tortured and blamed if we don't do it first to someone else. This is linked to the very basic core of the falsehood as a system of catalyzed entropy, as a system of panic and fear that can dissolve a mind like acid. Instead, knowing that such scarcity or weaponized perilous structures exist, we also know that the same sophistication is mapped and can be mapped to beneficial structures and habits and beneficial systems in ourselves, and that we map to with others, that we foster and create and develop. We are the reality distortion fielding. And it is true that we are indeed not currently safe from the former president. We are not currently safe from the disgraced former president. We are not currently safe from the violent, shitty, bloody, pantsed rapist, fraudster, and terrorist who stalked Ruby Freeman and Shay Moss. And feel free to chime in if anyone has any reason why a person who stalked and terrorized and continues to terrorize and stalk two people, two American citizens who did their job, if there's a reason why we should accept anyone running for office who has stalked and terrorized and tried to instill the murder and the ruin of the lives of two American citizens, if we should consider letting someone who did that be on a ballot, please chime in. Why in the world would any decent human being ever let Donald Trump's name be written down on a ballot for anything? for any form of responsibility or power. Why in the world? Please argue a positive case for why the stalker and attempted murderer of Ruby Freeman and Shay Moss should be given any position of power ever. 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 Please justify how, no matter what else he's done, I know there are thousands of buildings and skyscrapers of people that he's saved and all kinds of miraculous things that he's done. And I'm sure you could name them one by one, all the beautiful things he's done. But there is this one eensy-weensy, years-long campaign of terrorism and personal sabotage of two human beings, of a mother and daughter who worked for the good of democracy, for our country, and for their branch of elections in Georgia. And for doing their job, they have had to fight to remain alive under the terrorism of the most powerful person in the world. And somehow, terrorizing and trying to murder them and sending the Ku Klux Klan after them wasn't enough for us to see not only does he need to be, along with Rudy Giuliani, in prison for what he did to Ruby Freeman and Shay Moss, but everybody who has been watching and just humming along to the tune of, I guess this is happening now, needs to find consequences. How many people have simply said, oh yeah, I heard about that. What's wrong with us? That we watch people be attacked and terrorized, actually stalked by the president. It's a miracle that they are alive. He should be in jail for attempted murder of Ruby Freeman and Shay Moss right now. He should be in jail. He should be in jail probably 100 times over, but for sure, he should be in jail for stalking Ruby Freeman and Shay Moss. And anyone who says otherwise has a problem. A serious, serious, deadly problem. And it's called blindness and internalization and addiction to holding the falsehood. You are in an abusive relationship. Shocking boundary violations are one common grooming tactic of a narcissist or dark triad personality. If someone in your life points into a camera knowing you'll be looking at the view screen and pulls their finger like a trigger, looking into your eyes, saying, I could shoot someone in the street and not lose anyone, it is a good indicator of a bad situation. You are in an abusive relationship. Who has leveraged and climbed upon a fog of falsehood? Who has donned the falsehood? Who is the falsehood? What are we dealing with right now? There's a word. There's a word that encapsulates what we are seeing come through ridiculous Nazis like J.D. Vance and Kevin Roberts. The Heritage Foundation and their Nazi Project 2025 and Agenda 47 are quite literally attacks upon America and Americans and our democracy. We are in incredible danger, and Kevin Roberts just published a little contribution to USA Today. How convenient that the president and leader of the Heritage Foundation and of Project 2025 just moseys on over and says, oh gosh, I think I might have a couple of cents about how you're getting this shape in society wrong, and it just happens to be the shape that he is making of his disgusting ape. We are all just imagination apes. We are all creatures not terribly far away from our most recent genetic ancestors. And yet we do have the capacity for incredible genius. And so we have to hold people accountable, people like Kevin Roberts, when they make terroristic statements. We need to actually hold them accountable. The ridiculous terrorism of telling people that there will not be blood if they stay out of the way of Project 2025 is terrorism, and it is a threat against your family by this ridiculous white Ku Klux Klan. Why do we need to accept terroristic threats from this pathetic coward? Why? And why would we ignore that we are acting the coward to not help this clown? This wee, sad, little, tiny speck of a clown. We don't allow people to be so vulnerable and violent that they are a danger to themselves and others. And this ridiculous, sad, scaredy cat is trying to hurt people. So, absolutely fuck no, Kevin Roberts. Get therapy, boy, now. And don't ever threaten human family again, you ridiculous Ku Klux Klan Nazi. Your cry for help is being answered now, Kevin, and you are going to get health care. If you want to live long and prosper, then do that. And never threaten people on earth again. Never threaten your neighbors or their pets. Never murder your neighbor's pets again. Ridiculous white terrorist Kevin Roberts. Never terrorize your neighbors again. Ridiculous white terrorist Kevin Roberts. Never threaten people again. You ridiculous Nazi white terrorist Kevin Roberts of the corrupt Heritage Foundation. You have been handed. In your hands now are your instructions. Get therapy and apologize. And ask at some point if you may return to the table of human family when you have killed your cancer. I think that's all we have for you now, Kevin. Go get help. Get help now. Get help right now. Don't wait. I'm not talking about more lynch mob reinforcements, boy. I'm talking about get mental health care help now for your intolerance. If you are so ignorant that you don't understand what the paradox intolerance comes out as, we tolerate all but intolerance. If you need help working out how that plays out, then ask. But the answer is no. No. Nazi Kevin Roberts, you will not conduct any revolution in America. You will surrender to the forces of human kindness that do not consent to your terrorism taking over this country. Ku Klux Klan you very much. We see you. We see that you have entirely submitted to the forces of terrorism, and we're here to rescue you. We look and we see you walking in the sky in free fall. You're not walking on water. You are falling. And the only thing that can catch you is you confronting that cancer so that the new Colossus has any idea that you are a human being. It's not all right for you to dehumanize people. And when you attack people this cravenly, you make yourself difficult to understand as human. And you are human, Kevin Roberts, just like all of your victims. But the victimization ends now. You, Kevin Roberts, are being released from your penance to be a miserable, disgusting disease of Nazi filth. You are now released from that cancer. You have a chance to look that cancer in the face and tell the cancer no one talks to humanity that way. If that's something in you you can heal or work through and process, or if the cancer in you truly has to be killed, then it is up to you, Kevin Roberts, to kill your cancer so that you are safe around any other members of the human race. Why would we trust people who clearly come to the table bringing tricks to juke the precedent, to juke the moment, to preempt what's supposed to happen? Why would we not apprehend the falsehood when they try to disrupt a brief pandemic meeting with talk of injecting bleach? Why would we not eject the falsehood when they're running a meeting at the White House and perform a hoax by attacking someone with a weaponized misunderstanding of their statement, creating a cloud of screams and accusations while the person who is being misaccused simply says, that's not what I was saying. But the storm that's being built is an opportunistic video op. It is a video gotcha op that has no basis in honor or fact or reality other than that the illusion was cast in reality, where things do exist in reality. So we can listen to Stephen Miller at the White House accosting Jim Acosta for bringing up the idea that we should make sure that people who have not happened to learn English would also still be able to come here. And Stephen Miller, by plan and by attack, is ready to leverage something that he can entirely lie about and blow from any proportion. We're dealing with coercion, and so listen to Stephen Miller as he simply fascistically informs us that we will submit.
The end result of this, though, is that our opponents, the media, and the whole world will soon see, as we begin to take further actions, that the powers of the president to protect our country are very substantial and will not be questioned.
Later on in life.
So, but
this
Jim,
whole notion of, well, they could learn, they have to learn English before they get to the United States. Are we just going to bring in people from Great Britain and Australia?
Jim, it's actually, I have to honestly say, I am shocked at your statement that you think that only people from Great Britain and Australia would know English. It's actually...
That was not the statement that Jim Acosta made. But Stephen Miller, having the rostrum and the microphone, and no conscience whatsoever, is using the shocking boundary violation of a surprise ambush. Jim Acosta and virtually everyone else in the room is very aware that there is an ambush of reversed meaning, and an attempt to arm wrestle for an upper hand simply through sowing confusion and King of the Hill. It is a nonsense, terroristic move in bad faith, and one which uses falsehood. No one is coming to any new understanding. Stephen Miller is simply expending capital based on the idea that he is standing for something and using everything he is supposedly standing for as fodder. Stephen Miller is a Nazi. And it's important to hear the tactic at hand and to recognize what is at hand. Because a journalist mentioning, essentially, we want to make sure that people who don't already speak some English also have a path to come here and work, or a path towards citizenship. Mentioning that is indeed a good faith point of attention to keeping opportunity alive, and knowing that perfectly well, Stephen Miller flips the truth to simply perform an attack. It is essentially throwing acid in someone's face. But here, the face is that of abject meaning or fact. So let's listen through this, being aware that Stephen Miller has stolen fact of the moment, and all we are doing here is scrambling for when someone, again, who is an adult, has the microphone for long enough to say, okay, back on planet Earth, but what gets clipped? What gets taken, and really what is even noticed? I hope that what is noticed is crime, is nefarious attack on meaning and trust and our standards of decency, which allow for a substrate of trust. And without trust, we can build nothing ever, anywhere. And it's important to point out the vitriol with which Stephen Miller does this. Like Marjorie Taylor Greene or other purveyors of lynch mob brain syndrome, such as Laura Loomer, the voice of Nellie Olson screaming about, you're attacking God, some horrible, amazing crime is being witnessed by the Stephen Miller, who suddenly is incensed and fighting for the glory of all that is good. It is a complete donning of the falsehood. It is a complete hoax. But that's what we have here. Stephen Miller is a Nazi. He is a racist. He does likely have all kinds of assumptions about intelligence or lack of intelligence corresponding with race or nationality. And so there are myriad ways in which this is incredibly toxic and bad faith on his part. Because, of course, he's in part trying to take the mask of propriety, the mask of essentially DEI, which is a mask that he would usually scream at, as it's a way for him to scream the N-word without screaming the N-word. But this is sabotage of meeting at common ground. This is sabotage of a press pool. This is sabotage of the press corps. In the same way as Kellyanne Conway blustered in with the weapon of an assertion of alternative facts, Stephen Miller made an attack on fact and meaning. And all you have to do that is to want to, and to plan to, or to take the opportunity to do so, all of which he did. Let's listen to hear exactly how he pilots through this. It is manifestly disgusting.
As we begin to take further actions, that the powers of the president to protect our country are very substantial and will not be questioned.
Later on in life. But this whole notion of, well, they could learn, they have to learn English before they get to the United States. Are we just going to bring in people from Great Britain and Australia?
Jim, it's actually, I have to honestly say, I am shocked at your statement that you think that only people from Great Britain and Australia would know English. It's actually, it reveals your cosmopolitan bias to a shocking degree that in your mind, no, this is an amazing moment. This is an amazing moment. That you think only people from Great Britain or Australia would speak English is so insulting to millions of hardworking immigrants who do speak English from all over the world. Jim, have you honestly never met an immigrant from another country who speaks English outside of Great Britain and Australia? Is that your personal experience?
Of course there are people who come
But that's not what you said, and it shows your cosmopolitan bias. And I just want to say,
it sounds like you're trying to engineer the racial and ethnic flow of people into this country.
Jim, that is one of the most outrageous, insulting, ignorant, and foolish things you've ever said, and for you that's still a really, the notion that you think that this is a racist bill is so wrong and so insulting.
The deeply racist policy that was being talked about is, well, the attempt to conceal it behind Darvo is made. And that is the diabolical little Nazi nebula of Stephen Miller. He will make a lynch mob out of anything. And no one should trust him. It is good when we know we have found the murderer. When we have found the murder. When we have heard whistled in the street the song whistled by the murder. That we tug on the sleeve of someone near us and say, I can't see him, but I recognize that song. I've only heard it before when young Elsie Beckman was murdered and separated from her family, never to return. So find the one whistling that sound, for that is M. Don't shit the bed of democracy, America. Please don't shit the bed of democracy. Who knows what evil lurks in the hearts of mendacity. The shadow of a doubt that might not be a shadow below the falsehood's nose. The shadow knows whether something more than a shadow grows below the nose of he who chose to separate families and lose the tabs that tell you how to unbreak the clasp that should not unclose, that you unclosed, you exposed and let loose. What was supposed to have already had family for a lifetime. But the degrading infection, there is an invasion happening. There is an infection of the blood happening. And it is being polluted with hatred. Our blood is being polluted with cortisol and hatred by the cancer, the Ku Klux cucked answer, the Nazi mental cancer that woos people to terrible, poisoned cocaine Kool-Aid like MAGA. You are in an abusive relationship with Nazis like Stephen Miller. And Kevin Roberts. And they will eat you. They will eat you. Kevin Roberts will smile while his family eats you. While his family cries and says, "Why are you doing this? We will never forget how you made us monsters." He will smile and laugh and suck blood from the mouths of his children, saying, "If you don't want it, there's more for me." These are monsters. These are Nazis. These are people who call other people animals. And those kinds of violent attacks are the kind of attacks that make people find therapy or jail. Kevin Roberts' attack, telling us to get out of the street or be killed with this tweet, is just one reason why he should not be in the street. It's just one reason why he needs therapy and or jail. Because we do not leave anyone behind. We do not abandon someone begging for therapy or jail to be a wastrel in society, swinging around a board with a nail. Absolutely fuck no, you ridiculous Nazi Ku Klux cuck. Your sad experiment has found empirical hard data. You are being surrendered. You are done. You, Kevin Roberts, have confessed, and then confessed a darker confession that you want to cloak your confession. You try to start a lynch mob, and then you say, "Oh gosh, those weren't white sheets. That's my bedclothes. I just jumped out of bed so fast." You are a criminal trying to start lynch mobs. The word for you, Kevin. Kevin, you and monsters like you are brown shirts. And you have no place in society in power or influence. You are criminals. You are the very essence of thugs. You are Gestapo that we just stop, though. Just take your time to process that. And hear, brown shirt, that you are responsible for your actions, and you are responsible for being a person celebrating a culture of looting, raping, and killing, Kevin. And you, Kevin, are responsible to heal or bring to heal or to kill your cancer. Period. Find therapy so that you can do that shadow work yourself, because your shadows don't get to be this exposed. You expose this shadow of threat and you meet therapy and or consequences. You ridiculous brown shirt cuckold of hate. You ridiculous, sad clinger. A clinger to the Ku Klux Klan. What a ridiculous, sad cuckold. No one, no exception, not even for someone who believes they trump anything. No one talks that way to us. We will not accept any brown shirts. We will accept people at the table of human family who have processed their apartheid and their hatred and their cancer and dispatched it. So you, Kevin Roberts, are now enlisted in a project that is yours. You get to deprogram Kevin Roberts, or therapy is coming to help you. And you're not the only one. You know that you're not the only one, right? If you believe that there is a resonance of good within all of us, you may just tap into it again. It's there. The patternicity that is connected directly to the love and soul and spirit of humanity that is you and that connects to all of us is there in you. It is the very tea. It is the verity. And it really cares. The new Colossus contains the imagination of democracy, and that is made up of all of our minds imagining democracy. And the ugly Americans took over the room. But abusers can be recognized. Even someone who has clouded humans' minds so they cannot see him can be detected. We can actually spot the falsehood. We can actually perceive the falsehood. And when we think we have the answer, we can know to trust but verify. We can know that the truth is strong, but our perception of it is delicate. We should know that we are always on the mission of understanding what we are seeing. We're always on the mission of recognizing what is before us and what we are in, what we are experiencing. We should always be on the mission of understanding how we are harming the understanding of reality or reality itself with our reality distortions. And in all of this, in understandings or accords or deals, trust is vital, but it's not to be given lightly. Confidence is not to be simply thrown away without a care. It's valuable, and stewarding it well means we trust but verify. Trust but verify. If Kevin Roberts from the Heritage Foundation is telling you that he's not a brown shirt, trust but verify. If Kevin Roberts is telling you that he is not a force of murder and rape and looting, if you trust that, I would verify. If you believe that M if you believe that M is somehow innocent, if you believe that M is anything else than the murderer, if you believe that M has a smile that doesn't want to swallow you, and you trust that he doesn't want to swallow you and shit you out, please, if you trust that, trust but verify. Because we are dealing with the falsehood. It's time for the kind prehension to be the name of a generation that we earn, that we have hensile ability and can grasp intellectually as well as physically, that we can grasp and see a ship or a shard or maybe the largest iceberg known directioned at us. And if somewhere on the vector between that iceberg and us, Donald Trump is standing it's not because he's placed himself there to protect us. It's because he is guiding the iceberg to us. Wake up. The kind prehension is what we must manifest. See Stephen Miller go now. See Kevin Roberts go now. See J.D. Vance and all of them go now, because we made these violent men who won't go leave.